I hauled 10 books and like 10 graphic novels, so I want to incorporate the May haul into the May wrap-up because why not? So this, I have been looking for Two Twisted Crowns to be in stock at my local bookstore. This will probably be my next read. Like, genuinely, I am so excited to see if this duology is everything that I want it to be. Like, in my head, I want it to reside next to the super cool place that Six of Crows lives. So I have really high hopes for this, and that makes me so nervous. But somehow I have managed to avoid TikTok spoilers, and that's also why I feel like a very urgent need to just read this. The next one that I hauled is Every Gift a Curse by Carolyn O'Donoghue. This is the third book in a series called the Gifts trilogy, which I don't know if you can see it, but they're right here. They're very cute. It's about this town, small town, a group of kids who are all in high school, and they're kind of discovering witchcraft. There's also a subplot of like an evil corporation taking their town over, and it is very queer friendly. I found the first two right when this one came out, so I bought those in paperback but didn't realize that this one was so fresh and I wouldn't be able to complete my collection, and it just came out in paperback, so of course I had to pick it up because I really do love these covers and how they look together on the shelf. Next up, I grabbed two different books in my journey to reread things that I read in school through my eyes now as an adult. And so the first one that I picked up was this really unique copy that I've never seen before of 1984 by George Orwell. This has definitely been through it. It has lived some life. There are doodles, there's a name on the front, there's like a little bit of annotating and underlining throughout the book. With this terrifying face, very, very, very curious what I'll think, because I did really, really like this in high school. Next up is The Secret Life of Bees by Sue Monk Kidd. I remember reading this as a freshman in high school. It is about a young girl who is kind of trying to move on from the fact that her mother was killed, and that is truly what I remember about it. But I do remember really liking it, but I could not tell you why. See this everywhere. Like, it stands out to me in bookstores, and I think it's because I don't really remember it, but I just remember that I like it, so I have this positive but curious association with it. So I finally saw it again and picked it up. I did not know that Forrest Gump was a book. I did not know it. Really, I don't know what it would be like to read a book before, or what it would be like to read a book after a movie that I've seen so many times and is so well known and well loved. Everybody's talking about this. Once again, like, I want to watch the movie, but I know I would want to read the book first. Also, didn't know it was like, couldn't tell you what it's about. Did not know that it was like devastating, but people after watching the movie and being aware of the story are like, yeah, it's really sad. So I have no idea when I'm going to be in the mood to pick up this. I have seen so many people on booktube and book talk hauling recently or talking about Glass Castle by Jeanette Walls. I don't know, it just intrigued me, so I saw it. I was at a local library sale and I said, you're coming home with me because I've seen you enough times to be curious. And the last book in this section is Love by Toni Morrison. I have never read a Toni Morrison book, and I don't know if this is where I should start. Like, should I start with Bluest Eye or Sula? I don't know. I'm just not sure if this is the place to start. So if you're a Toni Morrison fanatic, or even just well-read, please let me know if I should start with this one or if that's not the move, because I don't know. Because people are diehards for the other ones, I feel like. So if I read those, would I then be disappointed by this, or would this be a nice lead into things that I might like more? I found basically the copy that I checked out of Carrie Soto is back, so I just was like, yeah. And I think it's really cool that it has the library like stuff on it. I think this is truly the best cover that's out there, but I think it's pretty bad. So having to buy it for full price somewhere when this is the cover you get, I probably would have never done it. So the fact that it was at the library sale for $3, I said, perfect timing. Reading Jackie Kennedy by William Cunn. This is described as her autobiography in books. I've recently stumbled into like this fascination with her. I think I mentioned this when I hauled Stephen King's book about the assassination. This is one of those ones where I'm like, do we trust the person who wrote it? And then in the same or a similar vein, maybe the heaviest, I grabbed A Promised Land by Barack Obama, because I think that it is really interesting that he is the first president that I remember or was aware of, and obviously of like great historical note. I've read Michelle Obama's books, and I think they're a really interesting look into their life, and so I can only imagine what his is. I've read a book by his body person, and that was super interesting. I did find the first 9 volumes of Chew. I believe there are 13, maybe 14 volumes. I think it kind of pigeonholed me into wanting to collect the last few as old library bindings. So I don't know where the heck or how the heck I'm going to achieve that. May was pretty bad. I only read 4 books, so I'm really not sticking to my pattern of 7. It's fine, I'm coming to terms with it. But the first one I read is kind of what I blame all of this on, was Bridget Jones's Diary. This should have been a fast read, but I just kind of didn't care. My favorite part was that it was written in like a journal format in terms of like entries, and I've been doing a lot of journaling this year, so it was very interesting to kind of read in that mindset. But ultimately, like, this is just a main character that I could not relate to and did not find interesting or humorous enough to care to learn more about. Is this an instance in which the movie is better? Is it? Do I need to watch the movie because I don't want to go watch the movie? The second book, though, I spun it all around. I picked up Carrie, Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This book made me think over and over and over again, or reevaluate what I thought about the main character, because she's kind of hard to like, but she's a winner and she's victorious, and so you're battling with this pro tennis star who deserves everything that she's earned, but she kind of has a bad attitude about it, but maybe that's why she's so good at what she does, because she's a little bit disconnected or a little bit too invested in it. I ultimately came to the conclusion that I think that Taylor Jenkins Reid just figures out what she wants to hyperfixate on, whether that be whoever inspired this character, whoever inspired Daisy Jones, whoever inspired Evelyn Hugo, the list goes on. Does she just pick something that she's hyper-focused on and then write an absolute smashing book about it? I think so. The third one for May was actually pretty exciting. I finished my reread of the Legend trilogy, so I picked up Champion by Marie Lu. It's kind of a lot. I would say they still hold up, but they're still really interesting, especially like through a political lens reads, and also they definitely made me think about all of the things that I loved growing up along these lines, like this, Divergent, Hunger Games, and I think it explains a lot about this generation's mentality and what we think about and what we value. I will say though, she wrote such good heist scenes, chase scenes, escape scenes, like just over and over and over again, and then what should be like the big bang in here is a little bit disorienting and confusing. I don't remember it seeming to just kind of flop at the end. And then the fourth and final book that I read for May was Blood Trail by C.J. Box. This was the book club pick that I'm in for the month. My girlfriend is obsessed with C.J. Box and like this genre of mass market mysteries. So this is not the first in the series, but it follows a detective, or a game warden, I guess. A game warden who is kind of serving as a detective, in this case, about a hunter who is hunting hunters. You could truly pick up whatever CJ Box book in this series that you want, and you could start with it. But there are little Easter eggs twisted throughout that I assume are supposed to turn lights on in your head if you've read the other books. And they don't necessarily fascinate me enough to go figure out what they are or to keep reading and read more like within this series. They're just kind of like bothersome or reasons to not trust people. And maybe I was fixating on some of the wrong things because there's just extra weight added to what would in any other story be a super minor, insignificant detail. It kept me turning the page, but like ultimately I would not recommend it to a friend. Like I just think you could find a better mystery with a more sound conclusion elsewhere. But I do get why people read these like nobody's business and fly through them, because it is an absolute page turner. So I headed into June with Rebel by Marie Lu, of course. I'm doing a buddy read with one of my friends. Like I said, I'm super, super glad that I read Legend, Prodigy, and Champion earlier this year to kind of like re-jump getting into this, because it picks up just months after that final scene that you get in Champion. I'm just in it to see the Day in June reunification. Like I think that will be really, really interesting. I'm also really invested in the concept of Antarctica and how it is working as a civilization for these characters and in this book, because throughout the original series, all you are led to believe is that it is this place that has it all figured out, and you very, very, very quickly realize when you pick up Rebel that the system is not perfect, and they in fact have not cracked the code. So we'll see where this goes, and it will end up in my June wrap-up for sure.